All right, howdy, welcome back to Windley Mania, the greatest podcast you never heard of. Brought to you by the greatest band that you've never heard of, that band being Windley. You have to follow at Windley_band for all the Windley things in the world of Windley, because Windley till you Windloo. What? I don't know. I'm the best in the world, Andrew Rydner. With me, as always, man's best friend, Devin Hopkins.
Could say it's Windley, not Loosely.
Yeah. We're all winners here.
We're all winners
Number
here.
ones.
Number ones.
Champions.
Grade A guys.
Hey, Devin, how you doing?
Pretty good.
You look exhausted. You walked in here, you said, hey.
I was actually walking up and I was just going,
Yeah, I could hear it. You sound like a zombie.
I saw a thing where the race car driver, Cale Yarborough, he would just make race car noises while he was driving. He would just be like driving and like you could just hear him going.
I feel like that's not necessarily needed, considering there's a very loud engine.
Maybe he hyped him up.
a few feet behind them, right? Aren't those stock cars, the engine's like towards the back?
I think.
You watched that documentary series.
Yeah.
So
they didn't talk as much about
how to build a stock car.
How to build the stock. They're all built to the same spec, regardless of the make nowadays.
Really?
Like, because it's like Chevy, Toyota, and Ford or something.
Wow.
And they're all built to the same spec.
Yeah.
So it's an even playing field.
Yeah.
It's all up to the driver.
I wonder how they used to do it. Do you know? Why are we talking about NASCAR?
I don't know, because we were talking about noises that I was making, and it reminded me of the thing where I saw where Cale Yarborough did that.
Yeah, I remember when Tony Stewart started driving that Toyota, man, he got a bunch of wrecks.
Oh, yeah.
That thing was fast, but, he didn't have no handling on that son of a bitch. And then one of them Japanese vehicles.
There's an Instagram account that just posts, like, what they're saying to like the crew chiefs and stuff, and it's really funny.
Well, I need gas. Yeah.
There's one where it's Kurt Busch and he's just like, fuck, I hate my fucking job. He's like wrecking. He's like, I hate my fucking job.
I mean, oh Jesus Christ. You're not really you're not out there like breaking bricks or anything,
Yeah.
Breaking rocks rather. You're just kind of well, first of all, you're sitting down. So that's already like
you're driving a
200-mile-per-hour
rocket for like 3 hours. So that's got to be exhausting.
Yeah, you get a nice cold bottle of Coca-Cola afterwards.
Yeah, like any sport, that's what you get when after a big game.
Yeah,
I like to thank Coca-Cola for this hat.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not alone here in the storage unit, of course. We have returning guest Daniel. Sorry.
4-time world champion.
4 times now, huh?
4 times now.
Yeah. So, the thing was, this is an episode for the real Windley Maniacs. All right. This is one for the freaks because, Daniel's been on here. We usually talk about, we talked about movies that one time.
And then the next time he came on, we also talked about movies.
Well, you weren't there for that one. You were on tour with Turner Forte.
That's right.
Yeah.
I got my visits mixed up because I thought you were on there another time before that.
No. And then after that, we talked about movies.
Yeah.
And this one's a little bit different.
Yeah,
but
we're going to shake it up a little bit. We're going to be talking about movies.
Yes.
Now, you might be asking, why are we talking about movies so much? Why is this every week Daniel's just on here with you guys just talking about movies? Like, what is this podcast? Some days you got people like Michael Wood talking about like the history of Myrtle Beach music scene. Some days you got like the Feeble Wiener guy talking about like,
a lot of
the
stuff.
touring situation. Yeah, a lot of stuff, first of all. But, all sorts of different things. But now, then we did like wrestling and like, what the fuck is going on? You know what? I don't know, man.
That's why it's a mania.
It's a mania, that's for sure.
It's fucking wild out there, dog.
Windley Mania is running wild.
So
we're running wild on you.
Every Tuesday.
Just kind of doing whatever I feel like it. But I understand this one. You might want to exit out. Don't want to listen to it, then shame on you. But
don't exit out yet. You got something to tell them.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I know a lot of people like going to the Myrtle Beach shows. You have to follow at Myrtle Beach shows for all the shows that go on in Myrtle Beach. There's a lot of shows that go on in Myrtle Beach, but there's nothing like a Myrtle Beach shows. And I have a fresh, updated flyer that I would like to share with you guys. Now, of course, the months are printed poorly, as in they are not printed on here at all. So I will try my best to identify which month is which.
Yes.
So again, you have to follow at Myrtle Beach Shows. We got a lot of shows. Holy shit. A lot of shows. Like pretty much almost every fucking week for the most part. So if, you like music,
fucking come.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also go to the shows.
Yes.
So March 9th, this Fragile Life Records put on a little thing. It's got moved to Fresh Brewed Coffee House. So it's Crypt, Grimjaw, Denounced, Disgraced, and Coffin Slide. And then over at the Brick House Lounge on March 23rd is the Turnaforte record release show with Convalescent, Equal Creatures, and our pals Clean Sweep.
Clean
So
Sweep.
March 23rd at Brick House Lounge. And then last week, of course, we were joined by the legendary Ocala, and they'll be playing with Schwick Potter. That's a good name. Busted Radio and a Brevity over at Fresh Brewed Coffee House March 30th. And then moving on to April, another Fragile Life record. Brian's been putting together some
He's
really
got like a few of them.
Interesting shows here. So April 6th, Candescent, Hollow God, Warning Order, and Split in Two at Arcadia Studios. And then this one I just saw today for the first time, April 13th, Arcadia Studios, Being God, Frank the Frog, Bisky Christ, and Sub X39. And then April 19th, Elder Bright, which we've talked to Elder Bright.
Yeah.
Blank Slate, and Rosary at Fresh Brewed Coffee House. April 28th.
Orange Doors is playing that one too, I'm pretty sure.
Well, how about that? Yeah. April 28th, Out of Time, Good Grief, Middle Tooth, and Spite Baby.
I thought I told y'all about that.
All right. Well, we're playing April 28th at Arcadia Studios.
Bay Street's playing too.
And Bay Street from Florida.
Yeah.
And then May 18th, the first local show of the year for Hymns of Blasphemy. With Corrupt Faith. This is a big show right here.
Jesus Christ.
Let's read this off again. Hymns of Blasphemy, Corrupt Faith, Death Tax, Call to Harm, and Cherry Vanilla at Arcadia Studios. And then finally, May 25th at Arcadia Studios, another Fragile Life show. Team Deathmatch, Kill Card, Jiu-Jitsu, and Chain. So, of course, those are all around the 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock range, all around $10, except the Turnaforte show. I think you can get.
They're on GetRightLive.com. We went directly through there's no fee to my knowledge to buy a ticket through It's a very minimal fee.
So, of course, what a weird format. We did the banter and then we did the shows.
Yes.
It's kind of throws me off. Now I feel like wrapping it up.
Yeah, that's all we got today.
No, that's not all we got. I wanted to do that just because this is for the real freaks, all right?
Yeah.
The real maniacs out there.
The real Winley maniacs.
Because, what we did today, folks, is, of course, Daniel's been on the show to talk about movies. In general, we did the one where we just talked about movies. And we made our picks of movies that sort of represent the decade in our eyes. Different decades, of course. Then we did Tiptoes and The Other Sister, both terrible movies. But now we're kind of like, this is sort of like balancing the scales once again, because this time we decided that we wanted to watch good stuff that we all liked but wanted to share with each other. Yeah. So what we did was all recommended movies to each other to watch that we had never seen. And, I don't really know how to get into this because we got 6 movies, I think?
Yeah.
Yes. So why don't we go through and say which ones we recommended to each other?
Sure.
So I recommended Tokyo Drifter to Devin.
Which I thought was a very strange choice, but interesting.
I've heard you talk about it.
I've talked about it before. It's great. But we'll let Devin talk about it because he had to watch it.
You want me to go now, or are we gonna go?
Well, let's go around first.
All right, let's go around.
And then
first.
I suggested to Andrew Chungking Express because he has expressed interest.
That's true.
In watching a Wong Kar-wai movie.
Are you sure it's not because he's chunking?
Andrew, put your pants back, Mom.
I don't know that there's someone gets handed a plate of pork barbecue rice.
Yeah,
it looks really good.
Yeah, talking delicious. I bet. Yeah. All right.
I recommended for Devin to watch John Woo's Face Off, starring Nicolas Cage and John Travolta. And for Daniel here, I recommended the Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Cure, which is a Japanese psychological thriller.
It's like he knows me so well.
Picture. So, yeah. And then Devin.
For Daniel, I recommended Marked for Death, the Steven Seagal film. I don't know who directed it, but Steven Seagal.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. I think he probably had a hand in directing it. Yeah. And for Andrew, I recommended Dude, Where's My Car? The Sean William Scott, Ashton Kutcher film from I think 2000 or 2001.
2000, yeah. But I've never seen it.
That's why I knew you were at one point going through a lot of those early 2000s comedies. Because you're like, I never watched any of these. I was like, I bet he hadn't seen this.
It's a blockbuster classic.
And they're both movies I enjoy for different reasons.
I guess I'll get into why, when we get to it. But I guess we should decide. I mean, who wants to go first as far as
movies? Well, Devin, why don't you go first since
Devin,
you volunteered?
Why don't you go first about your picks?
I'll start with Face Off.
Face Off. What a great film.
What an amazing
what an insane film.
Oh, I was going to do this for our listeners at home just in case. A little plot description.
Oh, yes.
Of Face Off. This is according to IMDb. So, to foil a terrorist plot, FBI agent Sean Archer, played by John Travolta, assumes the identity of the criminal Castor Troy, played by Nicolas Cage, who murdered his son through facial transplant surgery. No, he didn't murder his son that way, but the crook wakes up prematurely and vows revenge. So essentially, John Travolta is an FBI agent. Nicolas Cage is a fucking criminal mastermind, insano guy, and they switch faces.
And apparently it's the only way they can solve this crime.
Yeah.
It was like, at one point, John Travolta's like, why don't I just interrogate them? They said, nah, you can't do that.
He won't break. He won't break.
This is the only thing we can do. And so they, put him under the knife and they take his face off and put Nicolas Cage's face on.
Yeah.
So the whole movie, they're playing each other in a weird sense.
Yeah. Well, there's two very established characters in that. The original Travolta character is this he's
very timid and
and still mourning the loss of his very young son. Yeah. Definitely a workaholic. And Nicolas Cage is this explosive, unpredictable bipolar maniac guy.
Yeah.
And then they switch, and it's they do such a good, both of them do such a great job because they do establish very specific tics and speech patterns.
Yes.
And they both kind of just switch that. And I kind of feel like Nicolas Cage does the better job. To me, he's a little more believable as
John Travolta in his body.
Yeah, and then John Travolta is a little more, believe it or not, a little more hammy than Nicolas Cage as the crazy villain. Even though a lot of the shit is that he does is insane. Just
I got lost in it. For a minute I thought they actually switched bodies.
Yeah, it's very believable for what it is.
I'm into it.
There's a lot of great lines. The fucking shut the fuck up, watch your fucking mouth. And then there's man, what's the one he's got the gun to his face and he's like, yeah, I forgot what he says exactly. Yeah.
But there's also a sequence at the beginning where Nicolas Cage is just assaulting a choir girl.
Yeah. He's dancing through because it starts the movie. He's setting up his bomb in a convention center, and
he's dressed as a priest for some reason.
Yeah, they did maybe just for fun. But he sets it all up, and then there's a choir singing, and
the airport.
It was airport or a convention center or something. Yeah. But he just starts dancing around. At one point, he squats and does the headbang, the windmill headbang. Yeah. And then he goes and gropes a choir girl and just starts singing Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
I could eat a peach for hours.
So
Dan, what have you seen this movie before?
I have seen Face Off.
How do you like it?
I love Face Off. I'm a big John Woo fan.
Yeah.
I think Face Off is the first one where he came over to America to make a movie.
When did Mission Impossible 2 come out?
No,
later?
Was that before?
No, that was after.
That was after.
Okay.
Mission Impossible 2. Famously, people didn't like it.
Famously not good.
Famously not good.
I don't think I caught that one.
I still kind of like it. Okay. There's an insane plot point in that movie where they have like micro explosives in their bodies. It's weird. Anyways, but he did The Killer and City on Fire and
Hard Boiled.
Hard Boiled, yes, which is an incredible. He did all these. He was known for these insane action sequences, like the kind of stuff that like when you think of like unrealistic action sequence, like guns that for some reason have 9,000 bullets in them until it's a dramatic moment for him to have to reload.
Jumping around and flying across
rolling
the floor,
for no reason.
Pigeons.
Yes.
Or
a lot of pigeons.
Doves.
Yeah. White birds.
There was doves in this movie.
Yes, there was.
Yeah. And there were a lot of slow-mo, like, dramatic cuts for no reason. Like, they would just, like, he would, like, this wasn't an exact moment, but just picture, like, someone handing over a piece of paper to somebody. They would focus in on that movement and just slow-mo.
Yeah. So, I mean, this was a movie, like, when... I feel like when Blu-rays really started picking up and, like, just being everywhere, my stepdad is, like, very much into the... Well, it was like part of his job for like a long time was like being on top of like home entertainment. Mm-hmm. So, when we got like our first Blu-ray player and a bunch of Blu-rays, for some reason he was like picking up like just Nicolas Cage movies, but like not like Leaving Las Vegas or anything like anything or Raising Arizona or anything
you think of as like, wow,
anything like really good. It was just like, it was like a Bangkok Dangerous.
Signs.
Knowing, I think, was one.
Oh, Knowing, no Signs.
And then, but Face Off was in the mix as well. And like, that was like, out of all the movies, like that movie's just it's so fun.
They don't make them
ridiculous.
Like
they don't make them like
they don't make them like that.
We didn't even mention the whole prison sequence.
Yeah.
Is like, that's the same boots from the Super Mario movie, by the way.
Are they actually?
That the Goombas wear. And I would love a toy of Nicolas Cage in the prison outfit from Face Off with
as
the boots. Goomba. Maybe not as a Goomba, but that character. So Devin, how did you feel about it? Are you glad you watched it?
I'm glad I watched it.
After making you referenced it all the time, just like, like in that movie Face Off.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I think that was like a Family Guy bit. Oh yeah, like a Face Off. Yeah. And I never watched it.
Yeah.
Like
I want to take his face.
Any highlights?
The whole film.
The whole film?
The whole film is a highlight.
Kind of like the part where he's like half cucking.
Yeah.
John Travolta.
Oh yeah, that was funny. He's like, I'm gonna fuck your wife. He's like, when he like there's like, hey, you've got a visitor, and like the reveal that he's back, and he's like, oh yeah, and they somehow all caught on fire.
He was like, fucking innocent wives. I meant make love. Yeah.
Oh, and him beating the shit out of like the daughter's boyfriend. That was, I was like, damn, like, cause it shows them trying to be like good, like, oh, they're still good guys, like, cause it shows him like protect that one kid, which that was the weirdest thing at the end. It's like, I have someone you guys want to meet. It's like, I got us a new brother.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Excuse me?
Excuse me.
It was the one girl. It was his like Castor Troy's son, right?
Yeah. And he just like adopted him when he switched because we found another surgeon, we can reverse it.
Yeah.
And they fixed him. They got him back in the right body, and he's like, I brought home another kid. You guys want him? Because it looked like his dead son, and he connected with him.
And his wife was like, yeah, sure.
He asked his daughter first. He's like, you show him to his room, and then that was it. The movie
happy
ended.
Ending. Like, happy ending.
Yeah, happy ending.
Glad that you liked it. So
I enjoyed it.
What was the other one you had to watch?
Tokyo Drifter.
Tokyo Drifter, of course.
This one was not, it's removed from the rest of the Fast and Furious movies. It's not exactly in the right chronological order.
It would have been a really great bit for you to come in here and just start talking about Tokyo Drift as if that was the one that I...
So,
what do you mean?
What
do you mean bit?
Let me do a plot in case you haven't seen Tokyo Drifter from 1966.
In case you haven't seen this Japanese movie from the 60s.
After his gang disbands, a Yakuza enforcer looks forward to life outside of organized crime, but soon must become a drifter after his old rivals attempt to assassinate him. So... Daniel, this was your recommendation to him. How do you feel about this? I haven't seen Tokyo Drifter in a very long time.
I love this movie.
Yeah.
I think it's really good. I think if you watch it now, there may be some kind of like, oh, it's not quite as actiony as I was like, it's from the 60s, right? But I will say the one thing that really sells me on this movie, and I like this a lot about a lot of Japanese movies, is that the like costume design is like on fucking point. Like all the people who are in the movie just look fucking incredible.
I saw your Letterboxd review of it and said like, these guys have some awesome fucking coats.
Yeah.
I was expecting to see like a 3-paragraph dissertation of the film, because like I guess I looked it up because I was gonna log it, but I saw that you had watched it. You're the only person. I only follow like 10 people on there, but like you were on there. I was like, oh, what did Daniel have to say about it? Like, these fucking people have some awesome coats. These people are dripped out, which they are.
They are.
I enjoyed it. I'm not like. I watched some of like I've watched a few like foreign films.
Yeah.
I sometimes have a hard time focusing when I have to read for a long time.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So
thankfully, there's not like a ton of reading in this movie.
Yeah.
And it's like I thought it's like pretty engaging.
No, it was
visually,
good.
Like, as far as
a
lot of great like colors.
Yeah, like when it switches from black and white to color at the beginning, and then the colors pop even more. The sets were cool too. I felt like it looked like it was on like a game show set or something. Yeah. There was the the restaurant or the bar they
club.
were in, the club. Yeah. What was the club called?
Like,
it was club like
I can't even remember.
It had a funny name.
It did have a funny, but there's like you had the club and it's like all white, and you're like, this is like really clean and sterile, and there's just like a fucking piano. Like that's the only thing in there is like some tables and a fucking piano because the girl was like a singer.
And that was cool too. It just kept cutting to like the song, which I believe might have just been called Tokyo Drifter, and it just kind of reminded you of what was going on. He's a guy. He's in Tokyo. He's got to go far away. Because he's gonna get got.
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
The song,
but he also whistles. It like breaks the fourth wall because he whistles his own theme throughout the movie.
He whistles his own theme song,
which is really fucking just like I don't know. I find that really funny. But also they have the bar that he goes to in the other city. I think it's Osaka. No, it's another city where he drifts to, where he like meets the other guy.
He Tokyo drifts to.
His like mentorish guy with the guy with the green jacket.
Yeah.
But like the bar that guy has, like I'm assuming y'all have seen Airplane, right?
Yes.
You know the like bar scene that they do in there where he's like dancing with her?
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, it's like a bar like that, like full of expats and stuff, which is kind of weird, but it's very funny. But like the shootout scenes are really good. I mean, there's a little bit of melodrama with like his old boss and stuff like that. But like other than that, yeah, they're just fucking dressed to the fucking nines, tens, nines. I can't remember what that is.
9.5.
Yeah. Anything that you remember that you particularly like? The fact that the guy said swords.
Swords. No, yeah, there was the one scene where they just like stormed the fucking like the palace or whatever, and then they just all like got lit up and they started running away. They're like, oh shit,
because they all had swords.
Yeah, they're like, ah!
No, it's a great movie.
I dug it. It was a fun watch.
Yeah,
and it was only like an hour and 20 too. So
it's not very long. It's pretty
very easy watch.
Paced very well. Yeah.
Oh. So Daniel.
All right.
What about you? What did you have to watch again?
So the movies I had to watch were Cure by Kiyoshi Kurosawa.
Yeah,
no relation to Akira.
Right.
Kurosawa, which, you know, he's and I had seen Seance before, which is another movie by him, and had been meaning to kind of get into his oeuvre because I've heard good things. He's more of a like thriller / horror director from Japan.
He used to do softcore porn.
I read that.
That's what he started off.
But
I watched that.
I was in that. No, but he had another movie I think Andrew mentioned called Pulse that Andrew's watched that I've been meaning to watch.
Was that a softcore?
No, it sounds like one though.
Yeah, but I wish.
No, but
no, but Cure. I mean, Cure's got some softcore elements to it. You know, a couple hookers, some tits. You know, but
may I do the plot?
Yeah, sure.
A frustrated detective deals with the case of several gruesome murders committed by people who have no recollection of what they've done. That leaves out a lot, but
it leaves out a lot.
Because the murderer, of course, is a
hypnotist.
Yes.
I think Andrew just knows me really well. I've talked to Andrew before about it, but I like really contemplative movies. And this is very much, I feel like there's two types of Japanese movies that I've watched. There's like all these super batshit insane where the action never stops and it's just fucking crazy. Like some of the Godzilla movies, 80,000 or Electric Dragon 80,000 volts, and then like a lot of stuff where like it's really crazy all the time and all very inventive. And then you get these really like contemplative, philosophical, slow sort of like, movies where you kind of sit there and think about it. And Kira's definitely the second type. I really enjoyed it. I think there's some beautiful shots in the movie.
Yeah, it looks great.
It just looks amazing, especially when he gets to the warehouse at the end before the other... I'm trying to remember his name, the killer's name.
I don't remember their names particularly. No.
I know the detective's name is like Takabe. Mm-hmm. But the killer, before the killer gets there, the detective is sitting there, and there's this scene where he's sitting there with this phonograph just in this room, and it's so pretty. And it's just beautifully shot, but the...
Can you ice me, dog?
Yeah, I'll ice you, dog.
Dude, can you ice me, dude?
I'll ice you, dog.
I'm trying to get ice, dude. Thanks, dude.
We're drinking Milwaukee's best ice in honor of Corey, obviously.
He's not dead or anything.
He's not dead.
He's just, he's probably drinking some.
He's probably, in solidarity. But it's not long. It's only like an hour and... I want to say it's like an hour and 50, hour and 40.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. It's not super long, but it's kind of slow and quiet and contemplative. The detective has a wife who has mental issues, and as he kind of goes down this rabbit hole following this killer, he starts having like these kind of like daydreams or like visions of bad things happening. He sends his wife off to a psych hospital essentially, but it's a pretty inventive take on like a detective / killer movie. I can't think of anything else that has really gone through that. There's a movie actually that I've watched called what's it called? It's not August in the Water. I'll think of it later, but there's another Japanese detective movie that kind of follows this same sort of theme. But I was thinking about this movie for a little while after I watched it, just kind of contemplating, because the ending is not particular. It's not.
It's ambiguous.
It's a little ambiguous, but you kind of. I think most people kind of come to the same conclusion that the detective has taken over the role of the original hypnotist killer, because the hypnotist killer, was. Like a apostle of this other mesmerist from Japan. I can't remember the name of him, but it's mostly it's almost like if you've seen It Follows.
I have, yeah.
It's a horror movie in which a monster, it's like a sexually transmitted disease, and whoever has the most recent is the most recent in the line of having sex with the person who has the disease is the one the monster goes after, and the monster works backwards. But it's almost kind of like that where, when you become, when you hear this tape, or not tape, but the original mesmerist, you become the new killer, essentially, at the end, is kind of what it implies. So I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It kind of reminded me of some Taiwanese New Wave movies that I really like. Neon, so The Rebel God, and most of Chai Min Long's stuff. So.
Yeah, to me, I see it classified almost as a horror movie, but it's not. It's more of a thriller.
But it's not really when you think of it. I feel like when people think of thrillers, they think of something that kind of ramps up over time.
I feel like the stakes increase as far as
the stakes increase, but I never really felt tense. More enraptured.
There's some tense moments where he's alone, the main guy alone in the room with someone.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about that is all these people he's alone in the room with are just sort of regular people with on the surface level just very normal basic lives and jobs. And it's kind of I don't know what Kurosawa was like, because with Pulse, like the theme and what he's trying to talk about there is very like it's easy to like pick up on because it's just like in your face as far as his feelings on technology and the internet. But I feel like you could kind of like stretch this as to like, you know, being concerned with, you know, like Western modernism or, you know, during the 90s at that time, there was the like the financial crisis and sort of the things that were going on in the world and, you know, trying to find a cure to these things.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what
I got more of a, like I kind of got like a more of a, like people turning towards occultism.
Right.
Like occult beliefs or things like that. I mean, obviously because it's hypnotism. So there's like that. But I got more of a, like, the horror is supposed, like, when people classify as a horror, it comes from, like, the, like, fear of, like, you know, occultist beliefs or, like, ritual and, like, spreading your own personal, not even beliefs, but like your own personal doctrine upon other people. I kind of want to watch it again.
Oh yeah, and watch Pulse too.
And then watch Pulse. Yeah, Seance
Pulse.
is really.
I should mention that Pulse has, at least in my opinion, like one of the greatest like supernatural scenes. I guess when you watch it, you'll see maybe. I don't know. I guess it depends on how you react to it.
Yeah.
Like when I first saw it, I was just like, "This is insane!" Like how it's done. But yeah. So Cure
from Andrew Reitner.
Well, I didn't make it, but I've seen it before.
He recommended it to me. And then the other movie that I was tasked with watching, which it was great. Was Marked for Death. I don't remember the director for. All I know is that Steven Seagal is in it.
Let me get a plot.
Get a plot for it.
So I chose this because, like, I knew that the movies that you guys were going to pick for each other were going to be as obscure as they are.
So not necessarily obscure.
Well, obscure, just like not like
you can go pick up Cure in Barnes and Noble right now.
Off the beaten path, I guess, in movie discussions.
Marked for Death, 1990, starring Steven Seagal. A retired DEA agent is out to hunt down and take out a Jamaican drug posse that has targeted he and his family for murder. They were marked for death.
Yes.
So I'm going to let you guys kind of do this because I haven't seen this movie. I don't even know like when the last time. I don't even know if I've seen the whole thing.
It's been over a year since I meant to rewatch my recommendations to you guys, but I just time got away from me. I was out of town yesterday, so I didn't, or else I would have.
I have a hard time like a lot of the Steven Seagal movies I've seen blend together.
They're all kind of the same. Yeah. It's always him like as some sort of cop or FBI agent. And he's like he's the most strongest one ever. Like he's like no one can.
That's
fuck
like a
with
running
him.
theme is that like Steven Seagal is like the best at everything.
Yeah.
Though I will say in this one, there's like a moment or two where he's actually somewhat in trouble. Mm-hmm. In a way, and a lot of the
he lets him get
he lets it like in this movie Steven Seagal takes a couple of licks, and like unless you've seen a lot of Steven Seagal movies, you might not quite understand. But like in a lot of them, Steven Seagal is just like he's the best, and
no one can touch him.
In this movie, he actually gets roughed up a little bit, but not that much, you know. I wrote down a couple things about this movie just to remind myself because I do kind of get them confused. But the first thing I wrote down was, what does Seagal have against the Jamaicans? And why does he hate them so much?
Well, they wanted to kill his family.
Well,
right?
yeah, but like
he does like a fake he's done like a fake accent in so many of the movies where he just like talks in like a fake Jamaican accent or something like that.
I don't know. And so basically in this movie, the first part of the movie doesn't make, like, I guess the only reason they had the first part of the movie in it, he's like on like an undercover assignment and one of his partners gets killed. Mm-hmm. I guess the only reason they have that in there is to explain why he retires and goes back home and is in the location. Because other than that, there's no reason for him
Yeah.
There's no reason for that part of the movie to be in there. They could have just started the movie with him being retired and at home. But I guess they had to show that he was a badass and that he is willing to kill a naked woman who shot his partner, which was really cool. A lot of tits in this movie too, yeah. But like I think that's kind of on the core, on the level for like a lot of these action movies, like from the 80s to early 90s. They all have like really just pump up the sex appeal, or like just sex, or some version of like nudity, or like, because that's the other thing is that, you know, in the movie, this like one-off character who's this like female detective for the FBI / like contractor who knows a lot about like voodoo, I guess, because voodoo plays a big part in this movie. A woman does a Santeria ritual during it. I actually watched it with a few friends, and while we were watching it, we did a Santeria where we were singing fake lyrics to Santeria. I don't practice Santeria. I ain't got no crystal ball. I showed my tits on camera for Steven Seagal. So that was great. And also, like, they had these dudes playing. I don't think all the minority characters in here who were playing Jamaicans were actually Jamaicans, because one of the guys was doing a Jamaican accent, but he just sounded like a pirate. They talked like in a Jamaican accent, but the lingo and the words they were using were like, I was like, you should be in a Pirates of the Caribbean movie.
Yeah.
So they were, and then there's this other part where, so Steven Seagal essentially like breaks up this bar shootout for the gangs, because there's a Jamaican gang and I guess a South American gang who are vying for territory in the drug community, and wherever he is, and he captures one of the guys, hands him off to the police, and I guess that starts the vendetta of the Jamaican posse, as they call it. That's what they call their gangs, according to
Seagal.
According to the Seagal.
I gotta break up this posse.
Well, no. After this first shootout, they bring in a reporter to do like a news story, and they just run it like an actual news. It's not like just a clip. It's like she does like a full ass take. Like she's, which made the movie feel like it was like a Seagal trying to do a PSA on drug and gang violence in California, which is even weirder because Seagal later in his career, after his like movie career died out, did a TV show in which he did like a cop style show. He did a cop style show where he was an actual cop.
Yeah,
and like
went on ride-alongs Texas or something.
In Texas, went on ride-alongs or something like that, or near the Mexico border somewhere. And did ride-alongs, but was dressed fully as a cop with a bulletproof vest and a gun in real life, arresting people and giving them speeding tickets. But he would do the show, and he would talk into like... He'd be like,
what's going on, brother?
What's going on, brother?
What's going on, brother?
Hey, brother, I get it, man.
Say it, man.
Yeah. You know, he'll do it. Yeah. Like, brother, what's happening? But he would talk legitimately like that.
Yeah.
So it's just
he would also like not really do a lot of the work. Like the actual cops were doing the work, and he'd be like, "Yeah, you were under arrest.
Yeah, you
realize these mistakes you made."
It's very funny because like as an action star, quotation marks that I'm making with my fingers, he's like really soft spoken.
Yeah, he
just kind of talks like this.
He's like
he's unflappable.
He packs a punch.
He's a black belt in like
Aikido.
Yeah. I never remember. Aikido. Thank you for remembering.
Aikido, which is a South Korean martial art.
He's well
but it's very funny that because I was listening to a like podcast about him, and it was like the reason he got his start is because there's this big like talent agent back in the days. I can't remember his name, who people knew was insane, who he taught Aikido to, and apparently this guy was like, I got to get you into the movies.
Yeah,
I got to get you into the movies, and that's how he got his start. Though I will say, when his niece gets shot after this, his sister starts blaming him for it and losing her mind. And I'm kind of like, well, like, all he really did was break up, like, a bar shootout. Like, why are you really blaming him for this? Like, really, your anger should be, somewhere else. And I remember, I wrote it down. there's a line where I think like a former FBI agent looks at him and goes, you know, your talent, your ability, you know, it's in the blood, and it's in your blood. And Steven Seagal looks at him and goes, well, if it's in the blood, I'll get a transfusion, which is a terrible line. He doesn't
well,
do
it's in the blood.
It's in the
I'll get a transfusion.
He doesn't give any of his lines any like help at all.
Yeah. It's
like,
always the same inflection.
It's always the same.
You could be saying anything.
You could be
but he's saying it like this.
Like, hey man,
I baked you cookies.
Yeah.
They're very
and what's his
delicious.
name? His buddy in this movie, who's the football coach, is also the guy from Community.
Chevy Chase?
No, the black guy.
That'd be a great buddy comedy.
That would be
buddy cop movie.
Kim.
Very racist. Yeah, but yeah. One of the other things that my friends and I, because I made a couple of friends watch this with me the other night, and you know, we started making fun of this as if it was a vampire movie. When the drug lord from Jamaica comes in,
What was his name?
I don't remember.
You remember the main guy's name? The main bad guy?
I cannot.
Screwface?
Screwface. That's it.
I was
Thank
waiting for you to name drop the main
Screwface. I literally couldn't. I mean, I enjoyed watching the movie, but I could not remember his name. But he has these obviously fake contacts in.
Yeah.
They are so green that it looks like it looks like what they do with like all those other vampire movies, where like the denotation of the vampire, or how you can tell someone's a vampire, is because they have one physical trait that's like slightly too much or off. And he has these green eyes that are just crazy, and he's practicing voodoo magic and like doing ritual killings. Like early in the movie, he's in this sort of like territory feud with the South American other drug lord, and the other drug lord goes and pays like a Santeria priestess or practitioner to do a ritual against him, and then he gets her later and like ritually sacrificially kills her. And it's got like we were just watching it as if it was a vampire movie. It's not. And then you find out later that Screwface actually has a twin.
Yeah.
Later.
There's a twist.
There's a twist. The twist is that
they found out after they killed the first one, right?
Yeah. They kill the first one. They go to Jamaica with this Jamaican cop who's working with the FBI.
Yeah, that's right.
And Steven Seagal straight up beheads the guy.
Yeah. It's crazy.
He takes this guy's fighting with a sword, and he like Aikido grabs it, like slices up through his crotch, and then pulls it around and just beheads him.
Yeah, it's insane.
He's just like a straight vigilante. Like Steven Seagal in this movie is retired supposedly, and he's just going around buying Uzis, Max 10s, submachine guns, and all this shit, and just like committing like warfare in like suburban America and not getting in trouble for it at all, even though everybody knows he's the one who's doing it, because as is in every Steven Seagal movie, he is the greatest who's ever done anything ever.
Well, I'm a true American hero.
Yeah, I'm a true American hero. You're the best who's ever been. You can't leave me like this. The president is promising success, and the guy who's talking to him is like some fucking police DEA precinct guy, not even the head guy, just like in his area boss. Like, it's like, the president's promising success. I need you on this. And it's just like, dude, your aspirations are way greater than like your station at this point. And there's another line that he says where he's like, you know, the Screwface is like, you know, I am God or something like that, or I have God powers, and then Steven Seagal looks at him and goes, God made men, and then he kills him.
There's another line that Steven Seagal drops, like while he's on like a stakeout. I'm trying to remember this line because it's absolutely insane.
Oh, after he kills the first two, when he kills Johnny Fingers, and then he kills the other guy. The other guy actually he doesn't kill, but he's like got him, and he's like, actually, Screwface has 1,000 worse deaths waiting for me, and throws himself out of the window. And there's a part where Johnny Fingers is like, you can't kill me and stuff like that. And he gets back in the car and he looks at, and he asks, well, how did it go? And he goes, well, one thought he was invincible and one thought he could fly, and they were both wrong. They were both wrong. They were both wrong. They were both wrong. But like, one of the things about Steven Seagal is like, he does Aikido, which, you know, your opinions on it doesn't really matter, but is not translates super well as like a very actiony martial arts.
Especially now
because he's just grabbing their wrists and sort of flipping them, and like all the action scenes in all of his movies are so weird. They're just so strange. There's like ones where he's just pushing people around as he deals with them.
They explode.
It's strange. It's a strange movie. And the reason it's called Marked for Death is because the Screwface does a Jamaican ritual, but like voodoo magic to like mark his family for death. And that's where they get the title of the film.
Marked for Death.
There it is.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
You had a lot of feelings.
You had a lot on Marked for Death. You had more than I did. I want to rewatch. Like, I want to watch all these movies that we.
I think you thought about that more than you thought about Cure.
I love Cure, but Cure is like a much deeper.
Yeah, it's more of a feeling.
More of a feeling movie. Yeah. I feel like I need to watch it again so I can kind of coalesce my ideas about it a little bit more. But like I don't know exactly how to describe everything. Like in Marked for Death, it's like this happens. He says a stupid line. He talks like this. It's a weird Steven Seagal movie.
I wish I could remember the line that I'm thinking of. He's like on a stakeout and like he like goes into someone's windshield and he says the most like insane thing that you can say to somebody. Yeah. I can't remember it. If it comes to me, I'll say it. If not, I'll look it up later and watch it together.
But those are my movies. Andrew.
Yeah.
What did you have to watch for our little get together?
You know, I was gonna like just not watch them, but no, I'm just kidding.
Like you were, you threatened to do that for Tiptoes. I said you have to watch this.
Yeah. I was actually thinking about like what I was originally going to recommend you guys.
I thought of other shit after the fact.
Well, I just wanted to do ones that would like one torture Devin. And then two, just probably tortured Daniel. Well, no, because I was like, I think he'll enjoy Face Off. But originally, I was like, what if I made him watch David Lynch's Inland Empire?
Oh my god,
I want to watch it.
I love.
I want to watch it with you. I have the new release of it.
Let's make a date.
Yeah, kill 3 hours. Yeah. You won't believe
you won't believe.
But right, I don't want you to look it up either. That's the thing.
Well, no, I just know that it's a movie, and I know that it's a character trait in Disco Elysium.
Yes,
that's right.
Yes, it is.
But like, I want you to like.
I can do a whole podcast about that game.
Great game, sick game.
Before we watch Inland Empire, Devin, I think that I'm going to give you a sheet of paper and a pencil, and I want you to write down like 5 actors who you think might be in this movie.
Okay.
And
see,
I just want you to see if you can guess. Like, there's one actor in that movie that's like, it's unbelievable that he's in it. I think it just throws you off guard. I'll be down to do an
Inland Empire watch. Yeah,
but
let's do it.
I wanted to Inland Empire for you. Then I was going to recommend Daniel. One of my favorite episodes of Star Trek, the original series.
You talked to me about it.
A Taste of Armageddon, which I don't think it's my favorite episode, but it's one of my favorites.
I've only seen a little bit of the original Star Trek series. The most of the ones that I've seen have come from the Next Generation with Patrick Stewart and.
I've seen more of that as well.
Yeah, which is a great show.
Sure, but also one of my favorite Kirk speeches, Taste of Armageddon. We can admit that we're killers, but we're not going to kill today. That's all it takes, knowing that we're not going to kill today. But yeah, maybe we'll do that. That's just a whole Star Trek thing. Because I originally wanted to do this because I wanted to talk about Star Trek, but we're not doing that. So I had to watch.
Tastes like Kentucky bourbon.
Ew.
Devin solid. Just took a sip out of my bourbon bottle.
It's a good bourbon.
I had to watch. Devin, gave me, Dude, Where's My Car?
You're welcome.
The dichotomy between
it was the most. I'll tell you, it wasn't the most jarring double feature I've ever partaken in, but it was pretty close.
I was looking on my shelf. I was like, "What movie on my shelf is Andrew not
I think
seen?
The most jarring double feature is when we did Schindler's List and Freddie Got Fingered.
That was one night. I forgot that we did that.
Whenever I've shown plenty of people Freddie Got Fingered, and I always make sure it's the like one movie we're watching that night because it's like you can't I can't imagine watching Schindler's List and that in the same night. Jesus Christ!
It was an evening that never ended.
Daddy, I got a horse cock.
Are you proud of me, Daddy? You proud of me, Daddy? Proud.
My favorite joke is the dad at the dinner table.
Thank you. That was yummy.
Thank you. That was yummy. I don't know what about that.
The kid that just kept getting hurt.
This is a solid film.
So I guess I'll start with Dude, Where's My Car? As that's what I watched first today. The thing is, I never really sought out a lot of these comedies. Like when they were coming out, my family, we never like watched them. And then like I just never really wanted to like watch them particularly.
They were kind of just in the, I had
cultural
four older brothers that were, they had their movies and I'd watch them with them and I'd felt like I was a real cool guy. We had my uncle that was also like close enough to consider like an older brother in that sense of what he showed me. Like he showed me some of this stuff too. But
it was a similar situation for me. My friend Austin, who lived across the street, he had an older brother, Mike, and
there's always an older brother, Mike.
Yeah, older brother Mike, and it would either be him or we would just take movies from Blockbuster.
Nice.
Because we were kids and didn't really understand the ramifications of stealing. But like
look what happened to Blockbuster. Yeah, so who won?
Dude, Where's My Car? Dude, Where's My Car? Super Troopers, all that sort of Friday After Next, all that. Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting in the sense of like, very much 24 years ago, like itself. Like, I'm just gonna assume this is a movie that I'm the only person who hasn't seen it at this point. Like, I don't really have to go over anything. Like there was like so many like jokes in it where I was like, oh, okay, that's where that's from. Oh, okay, it's from this movie. Oh, okay. It's just people have been referencing it for so long. Drew Jacobs is here.
Drew Jacobs.
Drew, I'm talking. I've never seen until today. I never saw Dude, Where's My Car? Classic. Apparently.
I'm loving that P code, dude. Looking fucking dapper, dog.
Drew's always dapper.
But like I can appreciate that there was way more to it than I initially thought I was going to get. Like I just thought I was going to get like just a very standard Cheech and Chong Wayne's World sort of extension, I guess. And then of course with the whole Zoltan stuff was very unexpected. And so I have to give her props for that, where it's just like you can only do so many vignettes of just like that. Like that's been a thing that's been done over and over again. It's like kind of hard to like, expand on that. So I do really appreciate the whole, what were they trying to find? The continuum transfusion, like just some made up bullshit. And,
Rubik's Cube.
Yeah. Right. And, I was watching it and I did like take note that like it had like a look that was very like familiar to me for some reason. I couldn't really pinpoint why until I found out the director of photography was Robert Stevens, who did the Naked Gun trilogy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, which I didn't know
that. I'm not saying like those movies were like,
those movies are better. I'm just
I do like the Naked Gun more than this, but like
it's not a contest, I don't think.
It's just like how some of the bits were shot, like what things were being focused on itself. Like my favorite joke in the whole movie actually is when they start the journey and they go walking and they're like, I'm tired of walking, and then the camera cuts and it shows that they were only like a few feet away from the house. But they don't really like reference that. That felt like a very Naked Gun joke. The thing about Robert Stevens is he also was a DP on 2 movies. It came out in 1986, and it was for the Wonderful World of Disney. And one of those was Mr. Boogedy.
Oh, for real?
And the other one he shot was Fuzz Bucket.
I made Jen watch Fuzz Bucket after that night.
Yeah.
I have been hearing tale of Fuzz Bucket from your significant other, Andrew.
Oh yeah, I love the Fuzz Bucket. I think that's the movie I've seen the most, but I don't know if it really counts because it's only like 45 minutes.
It should have been. They should have full sent it and just made a whole show.
Like when Disney Plus came out, I did watch it like 20 times.
Was that like, one of the ones that Podcast The Ride talked about? They said everyone needs to throw off the algorithm and watch Fuzz Bucket and Mr. Boogedy.
I guess, yeah. But yeah, I guess I didn't love Dude, Where's My Car? Maybe because it's just like, I don't have like any nostalgia for it, so I was just like seeing this for the first time as a 25-year-old man and just sort of like in the year 2024 and like, you know, I don't know, like, but I still understand why it was such a big deal, because it really was. I mean, for this kind of like dumbass movie, it did do very well and like stayed in like the zeitgeist for a long time.
It kind of like, it was one of those movies, like when I was a kid, like Anchorman, where like once a few people, like a few kids I was friends with had seen it, everybody eventually saw it. And it was like not a day went by without someone
making an Anchorman joke.
And then
and
it was.
Would you please stop saying and then?
And I was delighted by Brent Spiner.
That's right.
He shows up as the French guy.
Yes.
And of course he was Data on Star Trek: The Next Generation. But
see, there's your Star Trek for you.
Yeah, so I got a little bit of Star Trek.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
So
I remembered that, and that's why
I thought he was very funny. I thought Andy Dick was pretty funny too.
Yeah.
In the cage, but
probably on drugs.
I gotta rewatch it.
It was funny that Brent Spiner.
I haven't watched it in a long time either.
Let's double feature Dude, Where's My Car? Inland Empire.
Inland Empire. But you might be a little tired after Inland Empire.
I thought it was funny that a Star Trek actor was holding someone in a cage. There we go. Because of the cage. But anyways, and then Daniel, you recommended Chungking Express to me as well.
My favorite movie, probably.
Yeah, go ahead and talk about your favorite movie of all time.
I'd like to hear what you think about it. Why don't you give us a plot synopsis?
Yeah, I'll do the plot. I didn't need to do one for Dude, Where's My Car?
There's not a whole, yeah.
Chungking Express, 1994.
Dude, Where's My Train?
Two melancholic Hong Kong policemen fall in love. One with a mysterious female underworld figure, the other with a beautiful and ethereal waitress at a late night restaurant he frequents. So I've never seen a Wong Kar-wai.
Wong Kar-wai. Wong Kar-wai.
Wong Kar-wai, rather.
Sorry.
See, because that's how I've only known about In the Mood for Love and Chungking Express for a while. But the only thing I really knew about this movie was that there's like two narratives. And like, I guess my expectations for that were like, they were going to be like, the way people talked about it was like, there's these two very different like narratives. And I guess like they're different, but they're like connected, like obviously by the Midnight Express restaurant.
Yeah.
Obviously by like, you know, the being policemen and, you know, there were the problems with the relationships and whatnot. But Daniel, this is a fucking this is a great movie.
It's a fucking sick movie.
You kind of have to like, you don't really have to wrap your head around like what's going on specifically in the story, because it's like just so well made. Like there's the what's it called? The step, is it step frame in the beginning where it's like the slow motion type thing?
Yeah, it's like a slow motion, lower frame rate shot. He uses that in a few of his movies, and it's one of my favorite like cinematic techniques that he uses.
Yeah. I like the first half like of the movie is the one story, of course, with the one policeman with the pineapples.
Yeah.
And the lady involved with like the drug trade, and she's like a femme fatale who finally gets like her revenge on it's like kind of it's a little messy on who the guy exactly was.
He's like an expat / foreigner who has gotten her into doing this drug trade.
Okay.
And like from what this is just my own personal interpretation, they were kind of in love / fucking.
Yeah.
She was in love with him, and she's kind of fucked up this deal because the people that she's given the drugs to smuggle disappear with all the drugs. And the guy that she's in love with is kind of puts a hit out on her essentially, unless she gets all the money back. Yeah.
And it's this very like noir-y sort of feeling. It's this very forced meet cute, of course, between the one policeman who had been recently broken up with by his girlfriend, but he wanted to sort of reject that idea as much as like saying like, oh, well, it happened on April 1st, so it must have been a prank.
Yeah.
And then of course the countdown he had with the pineapples and constantly checking his pager and his voicemail. And it's sort of like these people living in this very artificial world and wanting something authentic inside of it. Even with like how these like kind of big moments, like him being rejected, like over voicemail, or no, he called like someone and they were like remarried, and he puts like
he's like going through old people he knew.
Yeah, and he puts like the bright like Coca-Cola, McDonald's lights like right next to that into the frame, and so there's that. The first I thought like I was really enjoying it, and then I was like, this is pretty good. And then when it switches, when Tony Leung, rather,
it was in Shang-Chi, The Five Rings.
I know him from Infernal Affairs.
Yes.
So when he walks across the street into that
Chunky Express,
into the restaurant, and his like eyes meet the lens, like that's like that guy is so fucking cool. Like
he's just so cool.
Like he just looks so handsome and cool. And like this is I guess probably this is like a whole hour. The first section's about 40 minutes. This is the rest of the hour is this story between this policeman and then the waitress Fei Wong. It's he had a relationship with a stewardess. She went away. He ended up receiving this like Dear John letter, and he like refused to read it. And it's a very much, there's this really cool moment where everyone in the restaurant she had dropped off the letter there at the restaurant, and everyone in the restaurant ended up reading the letter before him. So he comes to he was going to pick up the letter, but he kind of refuses it, and everyone's just kind of like very tense about it and like laughing sort of.
Yeah.
But there's this cool moment where, she like calls him back to get the letter, and, you can kind of like just see like this blur of people outside.
Yeah.
And you can hear a plane take off. Mm-hmm. It's like so fucking cool how they did that. And it's almost like there is like the point in the movie where they're talking about like the people you run into on the street, like you might know them someday.
Yeah. That's in the first part where he is like, the closest I've ever been. He's talking about, the first cop is talking about when he first meets the woman that he kind of gets infatuated with after his breakup. And he's like, this is the closest we had been before this was, like 1 foot away.
Yeah.
Because he kind of bumps into her while he's chasing another person.
Yeah. That first half is about the people who like are doing like these sort of like super heavy, like, these very actiony activities and running around and chasing and a lot of movement. And then the second half, which I found more interesting, is about the people they're like running past in a way, like the people who are more still. And there's another, there's actually a really cool shot. I think they do the what I call it, I forget, the slow motion thing.
Yeah.
But he's like completely still in like the foreground.
Yeah.
And then everyone else in the background's like
moving past
like,
him.
So I thought that was very cool. This is something I'm gonna have to like watch more, just because I feel like there's a lot of thought put into it, I think. And and again, like, it's not something that like I really have to think too much about the story. It's just sort of kind of there.
Yeah. But there's a lot to see.
Yeah. There's definitely, I kind of want to watch it without like subtitles, maybe.
Yeah.
When I get like the whole thing, like kind of like
internalized.
Yeah. And I guess another scene I'd like to point out is when he initially, Fei Wong goes away and she becomes a stewardess as well.
Yeah.
She leaves him a letter, and he thinks it's another like Dear John letter, and he just wants to like not be around with it. And then he like throws it away, and it gets all wet. And then he finally gets it, he, like takes it back out of the trash, and he has to like,
he can't read it.
He like slowly has to like open it, and it's because it's like his last communication with this person he kind of really cares about.
And he can't read it because
And
it's soaked.
if he destroys it, then it's gone forever. It's like, the great,
colors
great
in the movie.
Yeah, also that too. It just looks great. I love like how well designed that apartment is.
Yeah.
As far as like where things on the wall are and how it can bounce around the light and that big the window looking out
over the escalator.
Yeah.
Because it's really interesting. It's really interesting for me because in the movie it kind of like reverses roles in the second part, because originally she's kind of chasing him in a way. Like Fei Long is kind of chasing, like
breaking into his apartment, cleaning it.
Yeah. She floods it by accident.
Right.
He finds out she's there, and that's how they cut. But she's like chasing him in a relationship, and then by the time he realizes that he wants a relationship with her, she's become a stewardess and is flying off to wherever. And then in the end, she comes back, and he's taken over her job he's bought the Chungking Express.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Well, why didn't you ever contact me or whatever?" And he shows her the letter that it's all completely destroyed, essentially. And he couldn't have read whatever it was.
It looks like a boarding pass, kind
of
like a fake boarding pass.
Yeah, and he couldn't read it. So, and then he's like, "I'll go wherever you want to take me."
Yeah. Spoilers.
I
mean, you can't really be like.
It's not like a movie you can spoil, even with the plot, because all the enjoyment comes from just like actually watching it, which is like one of my favorite things in like a movie is where like even like. The plot's amazing, in my opinion, but like even if you tell someone the plot, they will never get out of the movie what you can get out of the movie without watching it. Mm. Not to mention they play a certain song.
Yeah, California Dreamin' was stuck in my head, and it really like it doesn't grain on you, but it like they use it a lot.
You notice it,
yeah.
So good. Yeah. And that scene where he's like running the airplane over the original stewardess's body.
Yeah.
Like when he's like, when they're together. Oh, it's so good. Tony Leung is such a handsome man.
Good guy, yeah.
He really is. So. Yeah. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's a lot about finding your place in the world, finding like what your purpose is, sort of finding people that you can be close to, especially in Hong Kong where there's so many people. And actually finding a connection with other people. It's really beautiful. I really recommend people watch it.
Me too.
Yeah.
All right.
I can't wait for you to watch more Wong Kar-wai movies.
I'm excited. I'm going to go start from the beginning.
Yeah. What do you rate Chungking Express?
Or
do you want to wait till you see it again?
I might watch it again. Right now, I guess I would throw, don't get mad, but a 4.5.
Fair.
Coward.
Out of what?
Just 5. I'm doing like the letterbox thing.
Well,
I always have to double my letterbox to like make the score make sense.
I think it could like the first half is just not as strong as like the rest, like that second hour. I
think it'll be interesting once you watch Fallen Angels, to see where you put it.
Okay.
Be interesting.
I'm very glad that I could throw my movies in the mix of what you guys recommended to each other.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll do it again.
Let's do it again.
And I'm going to throw Andrew something a little more actiony. Maybe actiony, but a little more fast-paced.
I'll try to find another comedy that Andrew hasn't watched.
I don't know. I don't know.
You ever seen Basketball?
I've seen that on parts of it on TV. That's when they invented
Orgasmo.
I haven't seen Orgasmo.
They're both Trey Parker, Matt Stone movies.
Okay.
Have you seen How High or Half Baked?
Half Baked I've seen. I haven't seen How High.
Half Baked sounds familiar. I don't think I've seen it.
Is it Dave Chappelle? Who else is in it?
Can't remember.
There's also a Dave Chappelle, Norm Macdonald movie. I forgot what it was called.
We've all seen Dirty Jobs, right?
The Norm Macdonald
Dirty Work?
Yeah, Dirty Work.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dirty Jobs.
Dirty Jobs, the TV show.
Mike Rowe. What if Norm Macdonald hosted that show?
That'd be way better.
Hey, this is really dirty.
That looks like shit. So, like, how much they pay you to play with shit all day? That sucks.
Sucks. You should try comedy instead. Have you ever gambled away all your life savings before on a basketball game?
I forget who was talking about that. They said, it was probably Conan O'Brien. He's like, yeah, I walked in on Norm Macdonald in like the dressing room, like before he was on my show, and I was like, "You okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I just lost a lot of money," and he was watching like the WNBA game, or not even that. It was like college. It was like a college game.
Like that,
yeah.
Funny. Norm Macdonald, famous gambler.
Yeah. Well, that was the rec room for this evening.
The rec room.
Yeah. The rec room.
Oh, yeah, that's how you described it. What the fuck
That's
you
what
talking?
I call the episode.
Yeah,
The recommendation room.
Oh, recommendation. I was like, what the fuck, rec?
Yeah,
Okay.
you see?
I like
See what
it.
did
Rec
there?
room, the recovery room in Charleston, South Carolina, which is the #1 distributor of PBR in the nation.
We've been there.
Oh, we did go there,
I've
didn't
been
we?
there.
Because
Quite a few times.
they have a the only thing I remember is someone like painted a copy of the George Perez cover of New Teen Titans, and it looked very off. So
That's right. Yeah, we did stumble in there one day when we were killing time before a gig.
Nice.
yeah. Was that it, guys? Have anything intelligent to say?
I never do.
No, Daniel.
I'm not very intelligent.
Thanks for hanging out again.
Always.
Daniel.
I'll hang out as much as we want to talk
Drew,
about.
do you have anything to say?
Drew just
Lisa
watched.
Frankenstein last night. It's delightful.
Nice.
Lisa Frankenstein.
Weird movies are back.
I didn't know they left.
Shout out to some movies I've watched recently. Godzilla -1 in black and white.
Very good. I
Fucking
watched.
killer.
I loved it. It was so good.
Recently also in black and white.
Fucking killer, dude.
What was it? They called it Godzilla
Minus one, minus
color. Yeah,
Yeah, it was great.
it was so good.
Movies coming up I want to see. Dune Part 2.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
I gotta watch the first one.
It was really good.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Hey, what you doing?
What are you doing to that popcorn bucket?
I'm eating it.
What are you doing to that popcorn bucket?
Hey, there's something inside this popcorn bucket. You want to see?
Yeah, absolutely. It's at the very bottom.
Stick your hand in.
You gotta really get it. It's like way at the bottom.
Let me get some of my spice.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna get the fuck out of here now because that's it.
We don't have to read the
I
shows.
only have to do the shows.
Yeah,
That's great.
That's
Crazy.
good. You should do that more often.
So yeah,
Can't wait to.
Ad read.
yeah. Well,
we did it earlier.
The Myrtle Beach show.
Blue
so-
Oh yeah!
Apron.
If you want to check out my stuff, you can find me on Instagram at Poptimism with 2 P's. It's POPPTIMISM.
Do you have the Poptimism Twitter?
Yes, I do. That's me.
I couldn't tell if it was you or not.
That's also me, but I
Okay.
hardly ever use it.
Because it doesn't have a picture that it does not look like your account. I thought we were just tagging
it's
someone
definitely
different.
mine. I just used to use my Twitter more for like when I had intrusive thoughts that I didn't want to say to people that I knew.
That's fair. That's what Twitter's for.
So
I
that's what I
think.
would use it for. Yeah. Andrew has tagged my Twitter account before on some stuff, so
That's why I asked. Cause like this is not. Is this
don't know.
Daniel? Is this actually
that's
Daniel?
me. That's me. Yeah, it's very different. Something completely different. Monty Python.
All right, so you're gonna follow at Windley_band on all the socials, and that's it.
Yeah,
believe
follow ladle_vice.
Yeah, Drew
And
Jacobs
at
stuff.
Drew Jacob Sings.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Drew Jacobs in the studio. Rock and roll.
All right, goodbye.